versus bottom in what can only be described as, in LATAM, unpredictable as ever. Don't be coming into this with any set expectation on what may happen. I'm fully prepared to be here for the duration, Gio.
You think that that's what it's going to go to?
I don't think that that's what it's going to go to. I'm just prepared for it. I wouldn't like to say. I don't think. I mean, look. I mean, W7M starting off on the defense. I think that tells you all you need to know.
I should write that down. W7M start on defense. There we go. Yeah. See, this is the thing for me as well, because this is my first play day of this stage. I haven't seen this new Team Liquid either. And I know both of these teams have had a slight roster change, so you could argue it's a new version of each. But Team Liquid, that's obviously the big one. That's the one where we are so used to a certain 5 players being this team. Sexy Cake Moringa, no longer there. I am in nervous anticipation to see what this Team Liquid is like and what they can bring. And sure, maybe W7M on paper are not the most difficult of opponents, but given everything that we've seen in this stage so far, and how wild a ton of the scorelines have been, and the fact that Team Liquid have only had max OT games so far, they could end up still being quite a force for Liquid to contend with and show me, especially, what this new Liquid is made of.
It's a new map as well. You know, you think back to how sort of Liquid have performed on this map historically, and you can basically just throw it out of the window. It is largely irrelevant because parts of the puzzle have changed, and players have moved, and players have been replaced. So it is no longer a same one-for-one comparison. Now, obviously, Oregon, it's going to be a map that you play. It's going to be a map that you start on scrimming just to build that chemistry and that cohesion anyway. It's not to say that they don't know how to play this map, but there's certainly a lot of different things that can be done. It's gutted. It's like minus 15 seconds. Easily.
We have all been there. I was really rooting for him. Well, I guess my faith in new Team Liquid is over. Oh, Palu, come on, man. What's going on?
It's worse, isn't it?
Oh, no. All right. It's okay. It's only round number 1. We can move on without Palu. It's fine. So, yeah. Anyway, this Team Liquid. At least, here's the thing, Ollie. Palu is one of the older members of Team Liquid, so I know what to expect from him. You know what I mean? He's not the one I needed to worry about.
Yeah, it's fine. You know, he's just saying, he's like, look, I know that you guys know how I can play. I'm going to get myself taken out nice and early. I'll be on the cameras, and then, you know, we can really show off the new players sort of thing. You know, maybe that's what we're going to see here. There's an opportunity for a clutch. There's an opportunity for something a little bit fancy. A lot of map control available for Liquid. They've not really come up against any obstacle, aside from obviously Palu losing his life fairly early on, which I'm not actually entirely sure where Herd's got him from, but we know that he was out toward the east side of things. Nest's going to take a moment just to wait for the drone before piling on through that bunker. So he can just look over at his teammate's screen and get an idea to see if anybody's going to be behind there.
Look at this. Coming up outside of construction. This is like... After the NIP attacks that we saw in that last game, I forgot that this was even an option. I feel like you never really see people come in this way anymore. Resets is getting droned, and he's not going to be over-peaking just yet. Wow. I thought that could have been kind of close, but Toxic Vape Canister is going to be coming straight out. This is... Oh, I was going to say this is very early. So much of the round has already elapsed, even though that 9 players are still up. But there's the first kill from Liquid. You can hear the Yin Candelas going off in the distance. And Team Liquid are just clearing up after them as they push on in.
Liquid not phased. PSK coming in with a couple of the kills there as well. He's really been making himself known in the kills department this stage so far. Nesk eventually does get shut down, but PSK to pick up all of those small pieces. Finds 3 on the round. That's going to be round number 1 to Liquid. A successful attack downstairs in the laundry. Bit of a brute force approach through bunker, but it worked for him.
Well, they got there. And you know what? The whole thing with Palu, Didn't matter in the end. PSK showing up, and actually, this was one thing that you and I discussed yesterday, Ollie. We were having a cheeky little chat about what was going on in Brazil, and one of the things you said is, you know, PSK hasn't necessarily been the guy who you would associate with being much of a fragger on this team, but he's actually been showing up quite a bit in this stage.
He has, and it's kind of a strange one because his stats don't always reflect it. In terms of his stats overall, but he just has that odd game where he'll put in a bit of a shift in a couple of really important rounds. I think it's the impact and the weight of the kills that PSK gets versus the actual total number of kills. It's very seldom that I can actually remember him getting any exit frags, for example. He's not the kind of player that is going to pad his stats in a 1 versus 4. They're typically kills that have a lot of meaningful impact.
Yeah. Yeah, and those kills that he got in that last round definitely were that, as it just continued to help clear the way for Team Liquid to get themselves into the site. The question is he going to be able to repeat that on this one? Oh, we'll have to see. Is this the exact same composition that they ran on that last round? I think it is.
PSK was on the Ying this time, I think, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, of course. I heard the Candelas. I remember that. Well, I was close. Nearly. It was nearly there. I have to say, I am quite fond of the fact that this finger pick has become so abundant. It does take me back to stage 1 of APAC North last year. Just a little bit, especially Q Confirm. They loved their finger, but it's so popular right now, and it's facilitating a lot of the way these teams want to play. They can provide that health, that healing, build the team back up when they go aggressive and they get harmed. No one seems to be aware that Resets has even just jumped into Attic here. In fact, they're all way too preoccupied by what's going on the games room window.
Resets is just giving it a look around to see. I mean, he doesn't really know his luck here. He's like, there's a Valkyrie and there's not a camera inside of Attic.
Yeah.
Like, nobody knows that I'm here. Like, let me check this on the drone. Eventually, someone's going to get the indication that he is going to be there. But it's a huge flank that he's able to hold now. He can look to try and nade on through, remove utility, or damage any players that could be there. He can now get back into the drone, knowing, well, there's no one that can peek from Big Tower. That's all reinforced and locked off. And now just need to gather a little bit of information from my team here. You can start to call out utility and you can start to place various defenders. And if you know where some defenders are, it means you've got a better idea of knowing where some aren't. Going to be able to remove the Banshee now as well, as one of Nesk's nades is going to land onto Gee. Things start to become very pressured in the site here for W7M. Nesk 2 for 2. Not often that you get to see that. We do eventually see resets fall inside of Attic. GDN and Herds making that happen as the fight back is on here from W7M. PSK with the flank below actually allows a player up those white stairs. That's a fight that he's going to have to continue and finish as he does eventually take down Panico. Ask moves on through, taking down GDN, and everything is in the hands of Herds. He's got to try and clutch up. He's going to start with a kill onto PSK, and the plant is going to be going down, but he doesn't have the information despite having the shotgun to effect from below. Nade will cut him off for a time before an eventual approach and a likely death as he starts to peek onto this doorway. Knows that the plant has gone down in kids, but can't do a lot about it. Palu picks him up as the final kill, and Liquid level things up 1 round apiece.
Palu making up in this round for what he kind of lost in the last round, I suppose. And even amongst all of the gunfights and whatever, the bloodbath that was happening in that round, we still had that characteristic Team Liquid plant going down relatively unimpeded, because I think one thing that Team Liquid did very well in that round, and a lot of it was enabled by the fact the resets had that space in Attic for free, is Team Liquid were a great distraction. And I think that W7M underestimated the fact that Team Liquid could or would take that space in Attic. And I think it was a mistake to not have someone deliberately anchored there and guarding it with utility. Even though attic pushes are not super popular anymore, we still see most teams have an attic defense because they know that if they don't have one, that space can and will be used against them. And that is exactly what Team Liquid did in that round. And suddenly it meant the W7M had to pay attention to both where they were expecting a push and also this area that they had just assumed would be, you know, free.
It's odd as well because attic's such like a safe place to be.
Yeah.
You think about, right, I want to try and stay alive for a little bit on that site. Where am I going to sit? Like, where else is there other than attic? Everywhere else you're a little bit vulnerable. At least in attic you've got a chance at defending yourself. So just for survival's sake, you would have expected a couple of people from W7M to at least have played in there. And if not played in there, then had some sort of fallback plan with C4s or something that they could look to try and use instead. But I think the confidence is certainly with Liquid right now. This sort of pause and wait, it really only speaks of one thing, and that is a little bit of a rush. Potentially. 3 players stacked up, a 4th making that rotation around. Resets, he's poised and ready, he's got the Gon 6 in hand. PSK is going to be on the nook as well. He's going to hit him from the back while all of the chaos is going on ahead. Make a little bit of noise, see if you can cause some sort of damage. We've got the Thinker Boost. That is surely the cue to call. GDN shuts Ask down, leaves the diffuser cold, and this has fallen relatively flat, at least in the first instance. Nesk is going to be able to hit back with a 1-for-1 trade. And we now see players looking to rotate back around. This is more like it. Nesk really popping off here. He's picked up 2 kills on the round. Still has just the dregs of a Thinker Boost wearing off. Eventually gets himself taken on down. Herd's holding a very narrow angle there. And for all the rush and all the fireworks, we've ended that 3-3.
Yeah, I thought that Nook could maybe get a bit more than it did. Like, it didn't seem like he had a direct drone working with or for him. He was just kind of going on a bit of an anti-roam, maybe trying to provide a distraction, trying to find what he could while he was there. So it has put it in a slightly messier situation here. Now, there are no nades left. This was something that was really interesting to me because Team Liquid brought 8 with them against no Wamai, because he's been banned, and no Jaeger. We've seen nades be used pretty successfully by Team Liquid so far in this game, but this wasn't one of the rounds where they did, and that's what I was keeping an eye out for. And now it's just not going to be an option. Guy takes down Palu. It puts him in a 2 versus 2. A PSK, maybe he's waiting to drop on down. Resets gets a kill. All they got to do now is pinch in onto Panico. And if he drops down, he's going to be able to be baited. Panico just had his crosshair in the exact correct place. 1 versus 1, Ollie.
13 seconds. Resets pushes his way around. Doesn't have any stims left. Just pre-fire it. You've got the LMG. You have the superior weapon, but Panico clutches things up here. What a 2 versus 1. He's been able to win out. Liquid, just what was going on there inside of that round? There was so much that went well, but there was so much that went oh so badly.
I think that one of my biggest problems with that round, beyond just them not necessarily, you know, getting as much, I suppose they're using the nades to get rid of utility rather than getting kills, but the big thing that I have a problem with is that it seemed that PSK was running on very little information. So when he came in through small tower and was going in towards security, he threw his nade, but I don't know if he knew that someone was in security. Same thing when he dropped down into the freezer hatch. Did he know that Panico was right there? Because I'm not sure he would have made that drop if he did know that. I think he was expecting Panico to be looking for Resets or whoever. Yeah, it was Resets who was the other player from Team Liquid. I think he was probably expecting that, and then he would be able to flank and come up from behind. But he clearly didn't know that. So I'm fond of this idea of playing a Nook if that's what you want to do. We saw Alamau do it very successfully earlier on in match number 2. But that wasn't it.
No, it really wasn't. And you commented on it at the time. You're bringing 8 nades and you're using 4. Like, unfortunate to see somebody die with 2 nades, but to see 2 people die, both with full nades, at that point, even if there's still a Rooney gates left up, you know, you've not done your job. You know, you've not been able to effectively exchange that utility out onto one another. So, bit of a weird one from Liquid. But it's only 1 round. We can move on now into round number 4 and see how they're going to approach this Dorms attack once again. It was very successful, and it kind of all hinged off the back of resets. He's often in a very crucial playmakery sort of role in the team. If we think back to round number 2, we remember him getting into Attic and just the damage that he was able to cause in that location. Now, it's as though he's setting himself up to be there again, but it's another one of those situations where he kind of can't believe his luck if he's going to get in there entirely for free. And no, that is not going to happen this time.
No, and I'm glad to see it as well. I think if W7M had not have made that adaptation, I would have had a lot of question marks hovering over this. But we don't yet know exactly what is going on inside there. One thing I will say is I'm glad that they're running a Jaeger. So they have some mitigation against the nades that have been brought, because once again, there's a lot of those.
A lot of nades, a lot of Varuni gates, a lot of utility to really be exchanged.
Okay, Ollie, correct me if I'm wrong. They've brought 3 operators that run nades. That's 6 nades, right?
Yeah.
Why does it say 8 at the top?
I think it's probably stuck from last round.
For the record, that's why I was confused on the last round, because the number of nades didn't add up. And I was trying to figure out if they actually had any left.
They brought 8 last round.
I know they brought 8 last round, but it said that they had 4 left when on everybody's thing it said they had 0.
Yeah, but Nesk died with 2 and Palu still had 2. So if you die with him, it still counts them up in the top sometimes.
Why is maths so hard?
Maths is hard.
It's so hard.
We're starting to see some of the nades at least
Oh,
now.
no.
But guys, he's going to shut resets down. PSK in there with the 1-for-1 trade. Palu getting himself in below. Only 1 kill lost on either side. Nesk heating up. Nesk is known for his Oregon, and he's a very dangerous player on his day. And so far, 8 and 3 as he chalks another one up. He is proving quite the menace and quite the threat that needs shutting down. He's going to be the one to do so as he swings round and actually does land the shots. The diffuser cold on the ground. Paolo, you've got to try and thirst after this kill. It's going to be a 1-for-1 trade, but Liquid had the man advantage, and they still had Ask alive. They are going to be able to clutch that round, but it was a very, very narrow margin.
Yeah, I think especially with that nade bouncing off of the bouncing off of the door frame and resets getting immediately killed. That was not the way. I feel like, you know, Palu had his unfortunate round number 1. Resets just had his unfortunate round number 4. Everybody's got to get a turn, you know?
I think as long as Nesk doesn't have an unfortunate round, Liquid will be all right. Because this is one of those Nesk games. You can already sense it.
Oh, I do love a good Nesk Oregon. And it's always on this top floor as well.
Yeah.
When Nesk pops off, always the top floor. It's so good. And we all remember the same 4K.
Yeah, very true. The SMG-11.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's not going to be possible. Well, I suppose it's possible for him to get it on the top floor here, but it's unlikely, given that the site the W7M have chosen is on the middle floor. They're going to be going to dining. Interesting, this is the second time we've seen a Tachanka today, but I have to be honest, probably one of the first times I've seen Tachanka be played on this site. I mean, he's great for the site setup. That's super useful. And actually looking at the operators that they've bought, he's the only guy who can do it. Unless you wanted to waste C4s, which at this level you certainly don't want to do. But it's, you know, it's interesting, it's curious. Oftentimes, it's normal to see a smoke be played on this site. The Toxibabe canisters can be played from a really safe space back in kitchen onto the default plant in dining, for example. So I'm curious to see where Tachanka is going to be played. Probably in a similar area.
I think we're going to target that top floor of small tower first and foremost. Can often be a difficult place to try and root players out of. Herds is going to be playing in Shower's corridor. Got a fair bit of utility to work with, and he is going to be able to find a kill onto Nesk. Nesk giving himself up pretty much for free there.
Hey,
Panico.
you said Nesk was the win condition.
Well, I did. I said that as long as he doesn't have a bad round. I don't think he's particularly had a bad round. I think he's just made a bit of an oopsie.
He just didn't have a round.
He just had a minute of jump in, die, that's it. On the cameras, please.
Oh man, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. Oh well, it happens. I suppose they know that W7M now are going to be playing quite aggressively in Shower's corridor, maybe, but they have backed off somewhat because, you know, I suppose you want to stick quite close to the clash. You want to have that safety. They've already been able to breach open the dining room wall, though. So you've got that direct line of sight. I have to say, I'm usually quite a fan of thermite being played on this site because you can actually use the exothermic charge onto the office floor above and use that to open up part of the wall. But they've only brought the one hard breacher for this attack.
It has somewhat limited what they're going to be able to do here, although Ask does still have utility that he could deploy. Liquid at the moment are just more preoccupied in using it as an angle. They need to try and formulate a plan to deal with Clash, because Panico is going to be a little bit of a problem. Now, there are going to be a handful of grenades left here for Liquid, but they need to make sure that they are being put to their fullest of use. Palu going to use one to destroy the shield, bait out the kill, and land the shots. Resets is going to land the most important grenade kill of the entire game so far, taking down Panico, and with it, the Clash and the shield. That's going to open up a lot of option here for Liquid, as Palu just going to hold on to those Showers corridor, but as soon as the kill onto Herds comes through, he can avert his eyes and find his next target. PSK yet to make his way on in, but still providing that flank watch. He's now going to join in on the party as Resets. He's going to find his second on the round. Ask has the diffuser and is probably going to start to get that down very shortly indeed, as Gee is the only hope left for W7M. 1 versus 4. What is he going to be able to achieve here? Does have a C4, but announces himself very quickly. And Palu, with one of many angles to hold, chooses the white stairs and will be rewarded.
So I guess we never really got to fully see what the Tachanka could have done as far as denial went, because Team Liquid, despite their loss of Nesk, were pretty good at being able to get into the site. And I think that the best part of their push, the best part of their attack, was the way that they went into Showers. They opened up with that nade, brought down the Jaeger who was in there. They took the space, but because 3 of them came in together, they could watch watch the Showers corridor. They could get the nade onto Panico and then move forward as a group. And I think that was very important. So I think we're gonna. There we go. There's the kill onto Nesk. Filthy and disgusting, and then there we go, there's the kill onto the Jaeger too. So I think those were quite that was a quite pivotal part of the way that Team Liquid played. Had they not gone in as a group, probably wouldn't have gone that way. I think W7M would have been able to take that round.
You could almost see the communication in action there, as a kill had come through, and for example, Ask was able to shut down Herds in those Showers corridor, and Palu, who was holding the door to Showers, immediately changes focus and starts to push further on into sight, because he knows that that kill's now been achieved and they can just focus again on taking another, 2 meters, 3 meters, another room, whatever it might be. And again, just something that it's nice to see it in action. Liquid on attack, relatively new roster, winning rounds here on Oregon through good coordination. W7M, they're not making really grave errors here. They took out the top frag, first kill on the side of Liquid in that previous round, but it wasn't enough. That communication and teamwork really is starting to show itself and pull through. So, a few rounds ago, you said that you thought they were preparing for a rush. Do you think this blitz might be an indication of one, maybe? Potentially. I mean, they're not all stacked up in the same area, so there's maybe a bit of a concern. But I mean, a blitz and a thinker, that's just a. I can't see blitz without thinking of Pengu. Yeah, I think everyone's got their own sort of play. I see blitz and think about Sexy Cake, but that's really old.
Oh,
But I guess even Pengu playing it's old as well, you know?
Us trying really hard just to be sexy cake.
You're just trying to embody sexy cake. You're just starting at the same point in the career, and it's like, right, yeah, at the start you play Blitz.
I mean, why wouldn't you want to? He is a sexy cake.
Exactly.
I just have a memory of Pengu playing it on cafe reading with the, like, I mean, this would have been early last year. It wasn't even a super long time ago. But either way, I'm excited to see how Team Liquid employ it in this round, because you're right. They are all in different places. They seem to be setting up and droning too properly for it to be a rush. But clearly they're all getting in position to work together.
That's almost what makes it more terrifying. Is that the fact that it isn't a rush, the fact that it's fairly considered, it could actually be good. Not that a rush is not good, just that a rush is very unpredictable and hard to it's hard to control. It's unpredictable.
Yeah.
But this could actually work quite well. Now, it's at least forcing W7M to use quite a lot of utility very early on into the round. Panico only has one Toxic Babe canister left, and there's still over 45 seconds of play left to happen. GDN is going to be rocking the Titan Killer this time, rocking that FO12, and if he gets anywhere near that rush, he's just going to decimate it. You can tear it limb from limb with that thing. It's incredibly effective at close ranges, but looks as though he is a little bit preoccupied. Resets actually finds himself down and finished off as Nesk will fall as well. GDM picks up 2. I warned you of that Titan Killer, and it has done just exactly that. Palu left 1 versus 5, picks 1 to pad his stats, but eventually is taken down by Kai's. W7M pick up a much needed round here.
Oh my goodness. I really wanted to see how that was going to be used, but you just had to be too in love with that gun.
It's a good gun. It's so effective. I
feel like you could serenade that weapon.
No, Demo could serenade that weapon.
Oh.
It's Demo's love for it has rubbed off onto me. I'm not as bad, but I'll let everyone know that it is a win condition in its own right.
Okay. I see how it is. I get it. Well, W7M really needed that round to go in their favor, because they were starting to lag behind quite a bit, and now they're going to be on the attack. So, you know, maybe a turning of the fates. I'm not sure I would say that attack on Oregon is the side that's... Although, I'll be honest, the statistics change region by region so much that maybe in Brazil is hyper attacker sided. I don't think it is, though.
No, well, I mean, it's only the third Oregon we've seen of the stage, so it's probably still up for debate, and the jury is still out as to which side it's going to be. With the bans that we have, I don't see this being a massive detriment to the defense. Sure, we've got a Cade ban. Sure, we've got a Wamai ban. But a Cade ban, it's just not important here. A Maverick can be used to open up that hatch very easily. And we haven't seen so much pressure on any other reinforced surface, whether it be games room into site upstairs, whether it be attic. Like, it's just not been a very important factor. So I genuinely don't see this being heavily attacker or defender sided based on the bans. I think it's just about the team on the day, and so far Liquid have come up with some very comprehensive attacks, and the onus is certainly on W7M now. They've not made it easy for themselves, Ergio.
Alright, well, we'll see how this goes. Herds coming in on the Ash. Seeing a little bit more of her make her way back in, I suppose, especially after a lot of people, you know, started stepping away from Zafia as well after she had some changes. And Hertz is one of those players who, if I remember correctly, we used to see play the Ashe a decent amount back in stage 1 of this year. So probably quite happy to be back in her. Regardless, they're just trying to gain some information at this point, set things up. Now the question is, Holly, is it going to be a meeting hatch drop, do we think?
An MHD.
I mean, they have got a Ying.
Potential. The Ying speaks to something. What that something is yet to be seen, I guess.
Probably a meeting hatch drop. That's how she's usually used.
It is most likely going to be a meeting. To be fair, Herds is in a really good position at the moment because he's just occupying a space and he's keeping a couple of people distracted. Now, he's got information, so he knows that there's a good couple of people that are wondering where he is at the moment and keeping an eye on that.
Oh!
But he's going to swing and get shut down by Nest. I'd like to have seen that from the other side because that's going to have been a hell of a shot. Herds hadn't exposed himself for very long at all before being shut down, and the entire pressure that W7M were looking to put on that side of the map has now been nullified.
I was actually going to make a comment about how there was no barbed wire on the stairs, and so he would be able to use his breaching rounds for something else. And I was like, you know what? He's setting up his breaching rounds here. He's going to clear some in the slide. This is actually pretty good. And then Nesk just completely decapitated him.
Pop-off game, and it's never something that you really want to be challenging onto directly 1-for-1 in an even playing field. You need that little bit of an advantage your favour. Ask floods through, picks himself up and down, but does get taken on down. Nesk still continuing to cause havoc. He's able to find himself a frag. Guy, you're going to be the next to fall. Your holographic is blocking your vision onto PSK. GDN, whilst he's got himself into a position, it isn't a great one, as he is the only player left alive. Palu finishes off Kai's. 6 seconds left to go. GDN just left to hold on to angles and pre-fire for all he can. Palu swings round and picks that final kill up. Liquid still looking very dominant here, regardless of side on Oregon.
Okay. W7M, just reconvene yourselves, recollect yourselves. I liked the ideas that they had. You know, they brought along the Ying. As much as I don't like meeting hatch jobs with the Ying is at least, you know, you're kind of beefing it up a little bit. I agree with you that the position Herds had was pretty good. I don't think he expected Nesk to just come out of nowhere in the way that he did. So the ideas were there. The execution simply was not. And I think as the round got on too, they just didn't necessarily account for positions that Team Liquid were going to be in. Like that final kill that PSK got at the end there and brought Guy down. Just weren't really in that zone because things had fallen apart so quickly. But it's going to be a different site now, a different opportunity for W7M to bring things back. And if they don't in this round, then of course it'll be going on to match point, and suddenly the pressure is really on.
Well, let's see how this round plays on out. You mentioned a chance here for Liquid to get themselves onto a match point and a very clear advantage here for themselves as well. 5 rounds to 2 is not an easy task for W7M to start to try and fight back from. Going to take everything that they've got to try and close this one out and narrow that gap. Liquid don't need to get lucky very many times until they'll find themselves on that magical match point.
I want to see how the attic setup is going to be. I'm sure Team Liquid aren't necessarily going to make the same mistake that W7M did. And actually looking at the silhouettes, it does look like at least one person is back there, which is nice to see. And W7M very focused here on this master site, just clearing out the Aruni gates, clearing out what utility they can, and opening up presumably the trophy wall is where I'm guessing that Hibana pellet went.
No real reason for Liquid to give anything up too easily here. There's nothing really that's going to be getting in their way from just sitting tight on the site. At this point, W7M, the pressure really is going to be on to start to work through these angles and figure out exactly how they want to try and approach this. Liquid have put a lot of effort into holding on to that attic area, recognizing just how powerful it can be. Finker again for W7M. I think, is that every team today, Gio, that we've seen play Finker?
I think so.
That's ludicrous. That hasn't happened in previous weeks, I don't think. Not every single team. There's
very popular.
Some sort of favoritism at the moment. I mean, I say that like there's not other people that we see every single round.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, Slay. There's a Slay Every team? What is this?
How dare they, babe?
Hibana? Oh my god.
Well, there isn't a Zafir. Not anymore. Not inside of this round. Palu opens things up pretty strong. Removes herds. It's quite a lot of ability to get rid of things from a distance as well. You think about the lifeline and what that's going to bring. It means that nades are going to be even more heavily relied upon. Palu just in the off angle. Beautiful stuff. Shuts down Gi and furthers the advantage. Resets has fallen for Liquid, but it is likely not going to be that big of a deal as they do still have an advantage. Panico trying to command onto that big window, but there's not a lot that he's really going to be able to do about it. Looking to try and find an angle, but Palu really needs to be stopped at this moment in time. He's found 3. Nesk picks up 1. Ask. Good old pre-play C. There is nothing that you can do about it. It is inevitable. It puts Liquid onto a match point.
Yeah, I said this is where it's going to get supremely pressurizing. I mean, one of the big problems in that last round is that Trophy was so heavily fortified and that never changed. They had the Vulcan shield in there, they had all 3 ADSs in there, and Palu was just chilling in there. And as you mentioned, he was playing on the off angle at times, he was getting good kills. So it wasn't even like they necessarily needed to rely on that utility to keep that area defended. But the fact that it did remain defended for whatever reason made it virtually impossible for W7M to be able to execute a successful push into the upstairs, especially as so much of their approach was coming from that master side. So their clear was totally... They did not achieve what it was they were looking to, and by extension, just could not take that round. So now Team Liquid come down to meeting. This is that Team Liquid site. This is where Sexy Cake would always play Doc. Rest in peace. But no Sexy Doc for this round, of course. Ask decided that maybe the Blitz, the Blitz was kind of taking the Sexy Cake way of life, but he's not going to go that far with the Doc.
Isn't it? He sticks to the smoke and see what he's able to do there. It's a site that Liquid have... I kind of want to say that they popularized it earlier on, when we didn't see a lot of meeting. Liquid were one of the early adopters of meeting as a site. And it's a site that they do make work quite well for themselves. It does rely on, a heavy, heavy hold. And often you've got to have that upstairs presence as well. But very quickly, Herds has got himself in and he's already looking to try and take control of Attic. And as an extension, move on through there.
Oh, Gemini getting ready. I'm going to gain some information of what's going on down green. Okay, the Aruni gate pinged out, and there's the Aruni. So immediately know where PSK is, right by the bomb chassis. Gi just getting ready in position, most likely to open up this wall into meeting so that they can begin to apply pressure there. But you've got to be careful because, yeah, Nest here and Split. He's protected behind him because of the Aruni gate. Then we've got these mute jammers are going to be put down. And now he's just going to try and hold on to this pixel angle.
PSK is going to be holding on to just off the bomb chassis. Such a powerful position, and the drone hole is really your biggest enemy here. You can't afford to let a stray nade sneak through, or even a drone that could risk giving you away. Nesk, first to fall. It hasn't stopped Liquid in the past, despite his pop-off game so far. Liquid have been able to perform quite admirably without him, and at this moment in time, Palu actually tops him in overall KD. Speaking of Palu, he's going to be able to trade on back. Picks up one onto Panikau. Kais makes a nade land and takes down PSK. But Resets is still going to be above. And as long as that hatch is in control of Liquid, they shouldn't be too worried here. 45 seconds left to try and hold on. Palu just dipping himself out of the engagement. Maybe looking to make that rotation, but the plant will start to go down here. Resets, he's going to stop that as he takes down Herds, but immediately the trade comes through once again. The rookies going back and forth with one another, and Kais is coming out on top so far. Ask hits his Toxic Babe canister and does manage to shut down GDN. 21 seconds, C4 in hand. Still a chance for Palu to make something happen here, as Ask will be able to shut down Kaiser. He was only on 1 health. All that counted was 1 shot. Ask actually picks up the final 2 as the SMG-11 does land. Liquid, they get the job done here in regulation for the first time this stage.
You know what? Ask picking up those last 2 kills, having a pretty good game as far as kills go. I think it all came from the heart that Nesk gave him at the very start. That's what it was. It was that joint little hand heart that they did together. Either way, Team Liquid having a very clean and crisp game against W7M. It is their first game that they have finished in regulation time, and they got a very, very good scoreline with it as well. So I would assume they're going to feel very happy about that and hopefully carry some confidence going